The following is a production of the University of Minnesota, driven to discover.
Well, hi, this is David Arundel, your host for the Peer Assisted Learning Groups podcast. Thanks for spending some time with us today. This episode introduces us to Madelaine, who is a study group leader for the SI program at Vancouver Island University in Canada. This is part 2 of a 4-part series on the VIU program. Like many other student group leaders, she reported how she served as a tutor in high school and enjoyed the experience of working with the teacher. In addition to sharing her 2 favorite learning activities, in a follow-up question, she explained why that they are effective. It was really quite fascinating. We also had an extended discussion about the use of, at their institution, of a co-curricular record that is part of her transcript. The SI leader experience and the training becomes a part of this record. I've heard of a few similar other institutions in the U.S. doing this, but Madelaine indulged my numerous questions about the record. As I said during the conversation, there are wonderful educational innovations occurring throughout the world. Well, let's listen in on our conversation. Well, welcome everyone to the podcast. We're visiting with Madelaine today, and I'd like to ask her to introduce herself and tell her a little bit about where you're located in the world.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for having me on. I'm on Vancouver Island, the smaller university here. I don't know what else you want me to say. Yeah, in Canada. It's a beautiful place, small university, but we're up on a mountain, so we get a beautiful view of the ocean, at least when it's in person anyway. So I'm looking forward to going back.
So are you studying from home? Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, a few of our courses have some labs in person, but all of mine are online.
Well, what are you studying in college, and where do you think that may lead you for a future vocation?
I'm studying computer science, and I'm hoping to either go in as a software developer or possibly a data scientist. We'll just see where the wind blows with that one.
Well, why did you decide to become involved as a study group leader?
There's a few reasons. So I do PSL for psychology, not computer science, because it's not offered here, but I just find psychology very interesting. So it's a nice opportunity to be paid to essentially take the course again and pick up on little pieces I might have missed when I first took it. You know, like all people, there's a part of me that just likes sharing knowledge, and I found the course really useful when I took it. So it's nice to kind of give back in that way. And then finally, it's just to kind of put myself out there, develop some soft skills, presentation, public speaking, that type of thing. Yeah, it's kind of a newer thing for me. It's scary to be up in front of some people, even online talk. So it's good to kind of push myself like that.
Do you ever remember any earlier times in your life whenever you were helping other students? You were teaching them things, and this could go all the way back to secondary school or even earlier.
Yeah, so we had I forget what the name of the program is in my high school. Where you just enroll in a class, and then you pick a teacher, and you act as a tutor in that class for that teacher. So I did that for, I think it was Math 9, and that was fun because you're just kind of running around with the teacher, answering raised hands, helping students with that, and grading tests, and making answer keys and things of that nature. And then in my own PSL class, the goal of our PSL, I'm not sure how it works in the States, but it's to really put the emphasis on the students to kind of lead the sessions themselves. So I kind of took charge in that way when I was in the program. And I had people coming up asking me for help with study tips and that sort of thing. So,
well, what are 1 or 2 of your favorite study session activities that are effective in helping students to learn? And once again, we realize things are very difficult now with COVID and most study sessions and most courses being offered online. But what are a couple of activities do you think are helpful to help students to be able to learn?
I think one of the main ones that I use all the time is group presentations. Now, obviously, solo presentations are really the best for someone to learn something, but I tend to avoid those because it makes people really nervous, and we really don't want PSL to be a stressful experience. But group discussions are so great. People can add to each other. So I'll put people in breakout rooms and have them prepare a 1 to 2 minute presentation. and then they can all come back, give their explanations of a specific topic, and then I get everyone to kind of add to everyone else's presentation. Just add one or two little things that they thought they missed, or that could be added. And then the second activity would be group discussions, probably. So maybe for 5 or 10 minutes, I'll just pose a question to the group, like maybe about intelligence and where it comes from, something like that, and just kind of get them to talk about the ramifications of it being genetic or environmental, and how that affects society. Just kind of tie everything in so that they realize it's not just a course. These things are important for how we operate through society. Helps them make connections and really remember the material.
Well, this issue about making connections is close to my heart. I'm a former history teacher. I like to kind of say that another name for our course was Then and Now, and I would try to make connections. Why is it, again, important for the students to make connections inside of the courses that you were helping to support?
Well, one, it helps them remember, because I think that there's plenty of studies that kind of show that mapping things in your head and making more connections with neurons helps you remember things, but it's also it helps them get interested in it a bit more. So it's not just a course where you're learning material and then writing a test. It's actually has some interesting bits to it, even if you're maybe not into it. And being interested in the course kind of makes it more easier to sit down and actually study and do the work than if it was something you weren't interested in.
Well, let's turn the discussion here to you, and that is based on your experience as a study group leader. How are you developing personally and professional?
Well, it was some of the things I said earlier. So being more organized, soft skills, communication, presentation, explaining. But it's also making me a better student, because it's getting easier to come up with my own test questions for my own courses, and to figure out, exactly what the testable material is, to recognize the difficult aspects of a class. And, I can pretty well guess, this is what's going to be on the test, this is how it's going to be formatted, because this is how I would do it if I was a teacher. And it's nice to really try and get into the head of the professor, because that's half the battle, right? It's just the mental game of being prepared and feeling prepared, knowing what's coming up, knowing what to expect.
Several times you've talked about the development of soft skills. Is that something that is important with Canadian institutions or your particular institution?
Well, we have a what's called a co-curricular record. So it's basically an addition to your transcript that sort of shows those soft skills. So being a PSL leader will get you some credits for that. Attending PSL will get you credits for that as well. And there's other opportunities through the school that would get you that I'm not familiar with. I'd say it's emphasized in the school. It's obviously very hard over Zoom, and I'm looking forward to going back in person, because I think that's probably going to be a bit more nerve-wracking to do those presentations, in front of people where I don't have, notes places, and my face might go all red, So I think that, I think it's emphasized by the school.
Considering that we have a worldwide audience that listens to this podcast, we've got listeners in Australia, United States, Canada, and according to the hosting service for the podcast, it's been listened to in lots of different places. Can you tell other people about this co-curricular
record?
I'll say that again, and then I'll look not as dumb. Can you tell us a little bit more about this co-curricular record and who gets to see it?
So it's attached to your transcript, your official transcript, when you graduate. And I believe even if you're not graduated, it'll be attached to your official transcript. But I haven't ordered one of those recently. It's basically a program to encourage students to get involved with other things besides academia. VIU sort of has a bit of reputation for being a commuter school. So there's not as many people in residency, and there's a lot of people who just go to school and they leave. They don't really partake in a lot of extracurriculars. So I think it's an effort by the school to encourage more of that. And we have a app that was just released this year that's being tested out with first year students primarily, which is basically like the school's social media app that's produced by the co-curricular department at the school. And there's all sorts of rewards and things that you can get by attending things through the app. It shows a calendar with all the events happening at the school and things like that. It's a whole department within the school, but just one piece of it is getting some extra credits for your transcript.
Now, would future employers see that whenever a student was applying and they provided their transcript for them to see?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. At least it's like if you do the co-op program, that's added to your transcript, right? You've completed the co-op course. It's a similar sort of thing. At least that's how I understand.
Well, I just think that it's fascinating to see innovations that are going on in other countries. And that's the reason why I was asking those follow up questions with you.
For sure.
I think that some of the hottest innovations that are occurring in education actually are occurring in the UK, Australia, here in Canada with this document you're talking about. And then at some point, they'll filter down to the US. I'd like to let you have the final word. What is one last thing that you'd like to share with the listeners of this podcast?
Well, I think that at least at VIU, the way I see it is, PSL has three components. There's, and just one of those is helping you do better at the course, helping you get better grades and understand the course content. But the other two are, I think, much more important, especially because it's a first year course and typically not that conceptually challenging. It's more of a transition period between high school and school. So the other two parts, one of them is just teaching people how to learn properly. In high school, no one I've ever talked to has been told, this is how you study. This active recall, spaced repetition, the Feynman technique. These are not mentioned in high school. So that's one big part of PSL. And the other one is the social component. So our goal is to, have these students in PSL go off and make their own study groups as they get into second year. And I think it's important to remember that, only one part of PSL is teaching them the course content and helping them understand it. The other parts are also very important.